What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. Lots of Marvel Legend goodness dropping on us these last couple of days. I mean, the last 48 hours have been pretty good. And unlike my frustration with the Star Wars brand, Hasbro's Marvel Legend crew kind of came through with one of my favorite reveals of the entire year, and it's down to December 14th. The clock was ticking, but they came through with one that I have been anxiously anticipating, and they really delivered. Of course, that is the absolute last thing I'm going to talk about. So let's break down all the stuff that they showed off these last 2 days. Starting off with the X-Men 97 Wave 2 series. And this one's pretty good too. I was really impressed with the first one. They dropped that really great Magneto, an awesome Wolverine. And now we get a new Cyclops in his Jim Lee attire. I'm not really loving this head sculpt of Cyclops. You see, it's got a little smirk, and I don't really think of Cyclops like that. And I also think the head sculpt is just a little bit doughy, kind of makes him look like he's been eating well in the neighborhood. So I don't like that smirk. I don't even feel like that's Cyclops in the cartoon in any iteration we've seen him. So not loving that, but I do love the fact that he's got that. Let me tap my optic button or the visor so I can release my optic blast. The hair paint looks a little soft. I haven't really felt like these cartoon figures have looked that far off from most of the Marvel Legends, but with him I kind of feel there's some things that I wish were a little bit closer to the comic book style, even though this is a cartoon based line and I know I shouldn't be expecting that. But this is basically that the X-Men cell shaded version, the cartoon one that we just saw, the 92 cartoon version, done with a different head sculpt and a few different changes, which I appreciate and like. We actually have the optic blast effect that we only saw with that X Factor version. I really love this as an attachment accessory piece. That should be essential. It should come with every Cyclops figure. So I'm glad to see it's included with this one. He's got different hand sculpts, which is also really nice to see. So that's great. And I actually like this head sculpt. So maybe what I'll do is get this one because I'm a sucker clearly for any and all Cyclops figures and use this as the default head and have the cartoon one, the original cartoon version, as my default standard Jim Lee version. So definitely gonna grab this one because Cyclops is my man, and I love that you can actually do this pose. That's gonna look really cool. The butterfly shoulder joints, of course, help with that. And the fact that there's no floating straps now, everything's dialed in, actually put into the sculpt, which is really nice to see. So you've seen that there's different hand sculpts. We got the two fist here, we've got the grasping one, we got the pointing one on this one. So love that. Lots of different options for him. And of course, you get Scott, you got to get Jean. And I like this head sculpt. I think this is really nice, calm, serene look for her. But I'm kind of puzzled. I don't really understand what Hasbro was thinking. When this was initially revealed yesterday, I was like, great, this is going to be my replacement for this figure. And if you got that 3-pack, you know what I'm talking about, this Jean Grey. A little bit off in terms of what I was expecting with her. Let me see, get her a little bit closer. She's got this kind of vacant look in her eyes. The sculpt is really good. She's a little top heavy because of the hair. It just really kind of makes her tip over all the time. But there's some nice little detail like the gold pockets here. I dig the metallic blue. I know some people aren't a fan of it. The orange, yellow, I like it. It's a little bit different on the top of the torso. You probably see it here. There's a little bit of difference there. But my main thing was she kind of had that looking up thing that some Marvel Legend figures had and wasn't quite great. So when I saw that Jean Grey was going to be part of this wave, I was like, oh, cool. Maybe this will be a replacement. But the articulation on this one's a little bit spotty. You see that she has zero, as in no torso articulation. So that's wild to me. I don't quite understand where they decided to go with that. But there's no, mid-waist torso joint here. I don't understand that. Clearly, you can do that with this Jean Grey figure. I don't know. Maybe she's got a floating waist piece here, so it'll capture all that movement anyway. But in other ways, it's a really nice figure. She's got the bicep articulation, which is a rarity, or at least they're trying to fix that now. She's got double jointed elbows. This one does not have that, so there's lots of improvements off of this figure. I mean, it's really nice to have bicep articulation for a gesturing telekinetic telepath. So that would really aid in her posing. So that would be good, even for, just trying to get her to hit that pose. The double jointed elbows will really be helpful there. But I'm really curious if that torso piece is going to mess up any articulation you can do on that. So a little bit surprised with that. But I really love the head sculpt, and I also love the fact that they included the other look for Jean Grey, the ponytail version. So you get that in one figure. And the sculpt looks really nice. You can see they didn't shortcut anything. Great detail work here. A little bit more than this version. You can see the legs don't have that level of detail, so that's nice. Again, they keyed in the belt this time, so you don't have to worry about the situation that you have with this figure where she's floating up and down every time you move her. I really love the fact that she's got the bicep and double jointed elbows, and both head portraits that you can use, not too much hair, so it's not going to be a situation like this one where it's coming down, although I really love the wash on this hair. We got two different heads sculpts, and the blue pin here actually makes sense because it'll connect on to the gauntlet piece, so that's well done. Great job on this Jean Grey. I'm just really curious how this torso chest articulation is going to work out. Then we get Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler also looks really well done. Double jointed, pinless now, so he looks really smooth. I don't need to get this Nightcrawler, but I probably will. I love the fact that they included the black accents, like black skin tone or black shading on his face. That looks really cool. I love the hair sculpt, so that's something else. We got a different look for Nightcrawler, and he's just a cool figure. So now, even though he doesn't have the full-on bushy hair, I can take this one or the other one, depending on which way I want to go, and throw him in with the rest of Excalibur. So I really like that. Now I don't have to have him splitting time in the display with either of his teams. Really like this. He's got a ton of articulation. Looks like all they did was just swap out a few pinless joints, and we've got this sculpted. I'm trying to remember if my original Nightcrawler has that or that was done with paint, but I really like how he turned out. And sometimes all you have to do is make a slight improvement, and you get suckers like me who'll go, "Oh, cool, I'll buy it all over again." Then we get the Executioner, and this is a really interesting choice for a figure and a character. Clearly, he's going to be a part of this X-Men 97 series as a friend of humanity, as you can tell by that FOH. It's not get out of here. It's the friend of humanity. And he has some interesting design elements. They clearly couldn't go as hard as the comic book design, but I think this actually works pretty well, and he'll do just fine as an Executioner comic book version stand-in. And I'm really curious here how the leg articulation is going to work. Articulation is going to work. It looks like they've got a little skirt piece here, so you can move both legs coming in and out like that, so it's not going to impair anything. Glad to see the double jointed knee joints here, because sometimes they get a little tricky with stuff like that. Double jointed elbows, that's nice. Got the cape flowing. He's got a harpoon. Maybe we can see the Marauder harpoon later. Got a gun. Let me show you what the comic book version looks like, just to get a sense of how intricate they really could have gone with this character and this figure. So clearly they were going to have to do a little toning down for the cartoon design. So I think this is kind of the best of both worlds, where you kind of get the sense that, hey, this is the Executioner, just not as wild and vibrant as the comic book version, which is kind of funny because you kind of think that maybe sometimes the cartoon one would be more colorful. This time it's the opposite. A lot more black, a lot of really quick coloring. So I'd love to see what customizers will do to enhance the colors of this figure, especially with the sleeves, maybe somewhat with the gauntlets and the boot armor, or the leg armor, not boot armor. But yeah, you see what I'm talking about. So there's a lot here, and I think for the most part this figure does enough. And Executioner was not on my top 100 list of characters. Like I always say, even at this point of Marvel Legends, there's still so many characters I would ask for a figure. He wouldn't even make my list, but it's a really nice looking figure, and definitely someone that I can add into the collection, the X-Men display, and be like, all right, cool. Even if I don't get a full, true, authentic comic book version, this one will do just fine. And I'm sure the hardcore Executioner fans will be like, nah, this doesn't count. Give me a real one. But I like to see that they did a whole new sculpt for his gun. That's great. Got his little staff / baton. Also nice to see new parts all around for this guy. So maybe they'll go back around and add some new parts where we can get more of a comic book color setup for him. But all things told, I think this is a really nice looking figure, and check him out. Probably grab him as well. Then we get Goblin Queen, and there's all kinds of like people are upset and not happy about seeing this figure, but I think this is a really nicely done version of her for her cartoon look. Clearly, it wasn't going to be as risque as the comic book version. And it's kind of funny because I feel like Scarlet Witch shows more skin than this figure. But, we've got this, and I really like the head sculpt. I think that's really nicely done. Kind of gives you that darker, meaner clone version of Jean Grey. But I love the hair sculpt. I think that looks really good. The expression is really good as well. Got her Goblin Queen jewel, so that's good. Maybe you want to take this off for some customs. If you've got a better idea of how to execute this, I like this pose. I think this is a really nicely done sculpt. I am curious if this is using the Emma Frost White Queen and Black Queen mold, so she's going to be towering over the rest of the X-Men. I'll be really curious to see if that's the case. But, the cape is tattered a little bit. It's not as extravagant as the Inferno version, but it's showing that she doesn't keep it clean. It's a little rough and a little rugged on some parts of it. We got the green effect pieces. They weren't going to come up with something new, but I like the green translucent. I think that looks nice. Gives her a different look than some of these other figures. But let's check out the toy art version. Just to kind of rub more salt in the wounds. And for those of us scoffing at how this Goblin Queen looked, it was like, this is not Goblin Queen. I mean, this one's far more risque than that one. Because this one's going to end up on Target shelves. And again, this is why I think there was so much discourse and anger over how this figure turned out, because we knew this look wasn't going to make it to retail. And even then, this was a really toned down version of the comic book version of Goblin Queen. So I really wish they could have done this cape. Thought that would have been a really good reuse. Again, it's one of those deals where, yeah, but that's not how her costume looks in the cartoon. But that would have been nice to see that added into it, maybe like a separate piece. But anyway, I think this Goblin Queen, because this is not going to be the one we're going to get, is pretty cool. And it'll make for a decent enough Madeline Pryor stand-in on my shelf. And I'm going to get her, because this is the best we're going to get for her. So that's good enough, I suppose, since I didn't have to pay for a big HasLab to get her. So this is the stripped down Wish version of your HasLab Goblin Queen. And there's her accessories. She comes with baby Nathan, aka you know who. I love the fact that he's got X symbols on his blanket because Xavier totally buys into the importance of branding. So that's good to see. A little smiley face on him. Really nice to have a little sparkle, like, I'm going crazy with my virus is going through. But I think this is a pretty nice stand-in substitute Madeline Pryor, Goblin Queen. I would have loved for like this part to just be fleshed. I don't feel like that would have been too, oh man, this is gonna harass these poor impressionable kids and make them call for mommy. But I don't know. I think this figure is decent enough, and I really like that head sculpt and hair sculpt. I think that's really well done. I think this will be a nice starter for a lot of great customizers out there and see what they'll do with her. It's really intriguing to me. And then next up, we got Magneto. And Magneto in the cartoon is going to be rocking his second version costume when he decided, I'm going full face and I'm going to hang out with the X-Men all the time. So this body, I'm trying to figure it out. It looks a lot bigger than clearly the X-Men 97 Magneto that we just saw. And it looks a lot bigger, a little bit thicker, and got his big turtleneck collar piece cape thing working. Hopefully it works as well as the previous 97 X-Men figure where there was no issues. It stayed in place just fine. And I love that you can hit all these poses. I love that they actually got the M just so. That looks great and is on model with the cartoon version. Love the head sculpt. Think that's really well done also. But I kind of wish, and again, this is another thing where it's like, you can't complain if they're trying to make it authentic to the cartoon. But I would have loved if they could have thrown in an extra head. I know we get one with this figure, but a short-haired one, because what are the odds they're going to go back around and just slightly tweak this figure to give us a more comic book accurate version? So if we could have gotten the short-haired Magneto, that could have worked just fine for a White King look. Take one of these suit bodies. There you go. He's part of the Hellfire Club with this attire. Just giving him this old school hairstyle. I think that would have been really great as just a bonus. You guys are awesome kind of deal. I do wish that the magenta purple was a little bit more prominent. I feel like it's a little too dark in this outfit where it's just one tone. This is a case where some shading would have been really great to give us that whole two-tone look as opposed to just a standard monochrome look for it. But I love that he can hit all these poses. Great head sculpts for Magneto, and I think that's really great to see. So we've got the angry, I'm tired of humanity look, and then the calm, serene one. So nice looking job with Magneto. Happy with how he turned out. Then we got some reveals for today. And first up is the Captain America Falcon figure. And they're finally righting this wrong from that figure that came out long ago, so many years back. Clearly, this was in the pipeline to tie into the Captain America Brave New World release from the Marvel Studios brand. But, haha, joke's on you all, is getting pushed back to 2025, Valentine's Day 2025. So it's a long ways out, but Hasbro, the machine is already rolling. So we got to get this figure out to you all. And they finally decided to include the wings. I have this figure. It doesn't look like there are a lot of changes from that original one. I like the figure, but of course, I wanted to have the wings with it. So now, better late than never, we get this version with the wings. And I'm very curious to see what the pricing is going to be on this guy. But I mean, this figure is solid. It's still got the pinned joints. So that's, I wasn't expecting them to change that out. But yeah, it'd have been interesting for them to come up with a different head, because really the lore here is, hey, the figure that you guys picked up earlier, now you can get the wings. And I know some people customize a Falcon from, what was that, the video game version they did, the VR video game, and just attach them onto this figure, called it a day. I'm really curious to see what the pricing is going to be with this guy, because he's a case, if he's like a deluxe price figure where he's a straight up $50 purchase, that's not going to work. So we'll see what this clocks in at. Even if it's 34, it's going to be too much. Otherwise, nice looking figure. Then from the department of who asked for this, it's Secret Empire Captain America. Clearly, this is a case where Hasbro's like, we got that awesome Ultimate Captain America mold. We're going to put in some new parts, and you can see the new elements. So we've got all this work put into this variant version of Captain America. And I don't recall a lot of people on their top 10 list, on the push list, or just their random, here's all the Marvel Legend figures I want to see, we're clamoring for this version. I feel like Secret Empire was pretty divisive with the fan base anyway, so why we need to revisit it with yet another figure from this time period? Very odd, very questionable to me, so we're going to get it whether we like it or not. And he's got that unique shield, and this is really a rehash in most ways from that really great Ultimate Captain America figure I just finally reviewed in open mind, and I was really impressed with it. So I understand the temptation to go back and use it again, but this is not the look that I feel like a lot of collectors were clamoring for and wanted to see in their figures. But the great news is this set are exclusive to 2 retailers. The Captain America Falcon is exclusive to Target, and the Secret Empire Captain America is going to be exclusive to Walmart. Coincidence? I feel like, that's a little subtle thing of, hey, Walmart is a Secret Empire. Let's give them the exclusive. That'll be really hard to find. The good news in this case is nobody's going to care about it, so it works out just fine for everybody, and everyone works out just cool in this one. Then next up, this was another new reveal that we got today, was the Wolverine 2-packs. And these had been rumored and been leaked months ago. So it was now time to finally see them. And I feel like for the most part, they didn't disappoint. They kind of were like what they said and promised. I think the one surprise was that we're getting a Brood Wolverine. That is a really interesting choice. I mean, I love the head sculpt. I think that's really well done. There's an actual comic book story attached to this, so I can see the attraction of this figure for the Marvel Legends team. And we got a Lilandra, say that one time fast. She looks really good. They teased this figure. We saw the render of her, and I'm really glad this wasn't just a basic repaint of some existing parts. They sculpted a new torso, so you can see those lines are actually etched into the sculpt. That's not just paint work. She's got some different gauntlets. I think those are new as well. The codpiece as well. The boots also seem new. I love the way that cape falls on her shoulders. The head sculpt, I think, is really exceptional. I think they did a great job with that. You can see why Professor X would fall in love with an alien here. So, love to see this. Great work on her staff. I think that might not need to be translucent, but whatever. And here we go. We can do the pose where Wolverine is baying into the moon as he's becoming infected by the brood. His body's trying to fight it off. I don't hate this. I think this is a cool Wolverine variant. I would have loved to have seen this paired with another brood, though, because this would not have been a case where, oh, this is a really simple, easy variant where, hey, we can set up an army builder. But I would have loved to have seen, I think it was a pastor who got infected with the brood. And even though that's not a household character that you would associate with buying a figure set for, I would have picked that up just to kind of do more of this storyline. But Lilandra is a really great looking figure, and I'm kind of curious why they decided to pair these two. It's not like they were going against each other during that comic book storyline, but she looks really good. I think they did a great job with her. And now we get another character from that Uncanny X-Men 275 setup. Just one more left, if I'm remembering properly, in terms of the main image. There's still Outback Rogue, or Savage Land Rogue, but I don't know if we'll ever get her. She'll be wearing a very long bikini or one piece if the Marvel Legends team has their way with that figure. Here's the packaging and back to the window setup, which is nice to see. I actually like the really nice attention to detail. Give us a little die cut facsimile. That's really cool. Love that they're actually doing something unique to Wolverine to celebrate his 50th anniversary. And we see all the accessories. So she gets some swappable hands. She's got her staff / trident. We got Wolverine, and he's got the claws in and claws retracted look. I really love the head sculpt. I mean, that's just crazy to actually get this brood version of Wolverine. So that's cool. And hopefully they have some more coming, because I'd hate for this to be the only brood we get into the line at this point. Next up, we get this iconic replication of this cover patch Wolverine, Mr. Fix-It. And I love the scale between the two. It actually lines up with how they should look in the comic book. This is the Mr. Fix-It tuxedo mold that we've seen already from Hulk, but I mean, it's hard to hate on it because it makes sense. You got this option. Patch looks really good. I think they knocked this out. And, Hulk's not going to have a ton of articulation because of this tuxedo jacket piece. Love the head sculpt, though. So that's cool. They gave a new one to him. The single-jointed arms, the single-jointed knees aren't going to help with a lot of articulation. So this is going to be one of your least articulated Hulk figures. But it's going to look nice paired with that Wolverine. Kind of a one moment in time kind of deal, but it's fine. And here he is, claws retracted. Nice looking head sculpt. That's definitely something that was the theme for all of these Wolverine 2-packs. Really excellent head sculpts. Got him looking out there like, something's going on, bub. And I think this might be the Happy Hogan top piece. It's probably got to be a new one for Wolverine because he's so much smaller and shorter. But really nice work with this one. Another good set. And here's more of that Hulk. And you can see he's got at least one swappable hand. And the head sculpt is really packing a lot of emotion and intensity with it, even if he's not going to be the most articulated Hulk that we've seen so far. Last shot here, Wolverine, and this really looks great. The patch, the smirk expression, I think that's so fitting for him, and this really looks cool. I don't know if this is one that I'm going to have to rush out to grab. I feel like this is maybe going to be one of those 2-packs like, hey, it's on clearance, I'll buy it now. But I think this is a really good one for people who want it, who are like, oh man, I've got to get Patch, I've got to get Mr. Fix-It. I think they did right by you on this one. If you're not in agreement, definitely let me know, because I think this is a really well done 2-pack. And then another really great Wolverine we're getting. I think this is probably the most divisive of all these 2-packs. We get Ninja Wolverine, and they've already done this kind of before with Wolverine and his black outfit, and he was part of that retro line. This one's slightly different, but this head sculpt is fantastic. Really nicely done. Got a little snarl going. His claws look like they're going to be nice and straight. No issues there. He can hit some really great poses, as you can see from that angle. And it's just nice looking Wolverine, and he's one where he has enough different looks where it's like, okay, I get it. You have to keep cranking out more Wolverines. I was a little bit disappointed we didn't see an astonishing X-Men Wolverine to help add on to that team where we've got Cyclops, we've got Emma Frost. Wolverine needs a redo of that outfit because he was wearing that through a lot of important moments in Marvel, I guess, not so modern history. I was about to say recent, but that's been a long time ago now. You could have put him with the Avengers, the new Avengers in that attire. So I felt like maybe that was a missed opportunity, but they're going to get around to it eventually. But with Extremis, Iron Man just released this year, seems like they could have put this one out, or that version of him out this year. So next up is his wave mate, and that is the Mandarin influence version of Psylocke. And in that original leak list, it said Psylocke armored original look. And I think a lot of people jumped ahead and said, oh, cool. This is when she got beat down by Sabertooth and decided I got to be more powerful and I'm going to get this armored suit. But I read this like it was going to be this look. So I know a lot of people are disappointed, but I mean, based off what the description said, this is what we're going to get. And paired with this Wolverine, it does make a lot of sense. This is what they had on the cover, X-Men 257, Acts of Vengeance storyline. Wolverine in the ninja outfit and Psylocke about to yoke him up after her trip through the Siege Perilous. And this is when the X-Men were bleeding out members. It was just Colossus, Psylocke, Havoc, and Wolverine. And then they kept going away as they went through and finding their new lives. And it's kind of cool seeing this version. Now, again, this is not something where I was like, oh, man, I've got to have this. Clearly, I would have rather had Psylocke in her armored outfit with the full hood look. But it's just what we get here. I knew this was going to happen, so I'm not as upset with it. It's a unique look. Now, definitely one thing for sure, after seeing this, I don't understand and won't know why we can't get Mandarin in this same look, this same outfit, basically. That would work for him. I don't think this look is offensive. I'm again, I'm not going to say what is and what isn't offensive in terms of that character, but I feel like this look, this design, with the armor would make a lot of sense to go with for the Mandarin, especially for an Acts of Vengeance look. And I think with this Psylocke look, this is really nicely done. You can see this is clearly an original sculpt from that skirt piece, the legs, I think the knee armor is as well. Love the flow to the cape. She looks like she's got great movement. Notice, unlike Jean Grey, she's got the top torso movement here so you can swivel her around. She's got the 10 rings, which is really cool. So she's got a new accessory piece. That's exciting. Another really great head sculpt. I mean, if they can just take all the armor piece around that and make that head sculpt for a Jim Lee version, the one where she's in the ninja full-on attire, that would be really great. And I would love to get that in a figure coming up. So hopefully that will be the case. Then here's one last look. And again, check out this Wolverine head sculpt. That is awesome. Really nicely done on him. Kind of looks like she is putting the boot to him. Crazy smile look for her. So, I mean, we pretty much kind of sort of got that look. That's really nice and cool. And I'm glad to see that. So they put the work in on this set. I know a lot of people were like, no, just want armored, uncanny X-Men version Psylocke. But that's what we get, and this is kind of how it goes. Hopefully this means we'll eventually get a Mandarin because he's the version of that. I'd take that armored version of him with no problem. So hopefully we'll see that now that we've kind of introduced some of that look. But now I had to say the best for last with these 2-packs. Cowboy Wolverine, absolutely an essential look for him. So that's definitely not something I'm going to complain about. You see all the great texture of the shirt. I think that looks really great, and he's got some good articulation. The belt buckle is really nicely done from what this picture shows. I know some people are probably not going to love that elbow articulation, but, whatever. I mean, dude, this is, to me, Avengers Card Night Wolverine. So I'm going to put him, Cap, Thing, Johnny Storm, Hawkeye, got Wolverine, probably Doctor Strange, put him in the mix there as well, and just have a whole card party. Throw Gambit in this scene as well. We got Xavier card, so he's really pulling from his own deck. I gotta assume that I'm gonna hand these off to Gambit later. I love the smirk on his face because he's like, I got you now, bub. And that's really cool. I just love how that turned out. But let's talk about his weave or package made Sabretooth. This is the one that I think a lot of us were really hoping to see. Nice, big, bad, buff looking Sabretooth. And this figure, awesome. We've got the snarling, I'm going to destroy and murderize you look. And then the, oh, pretty bird, I'm about to slice and dice you up with my big claws. That's cool. You can see the size difference. I mean, Wolverine, you can see basically his feet right here. And he's not even remotely lined up properly with Sabretooth. So he's going to look nice and tiny next to him. He's got the claws out. And then, of course, he's got the grabbing hands that can hold the cards, which are removable. So you can't throw those on the gambit. And he's even got different hats, which is nice. So you can mix it up if you want him to be the black hat hero. But look at this Sabretooth. Awesome head sculpt. I mean, this captures the intensity, the craziness, the psychotic nature of Sabretooth perfect to me. I mean, the claws, he looks like he is coming for your neck. Please protect it at all costs. And just awesome work on this guy. And looks like they got a little bit of a wash there around his fur there. But man, the teeth look like, I'm coming for you. Like, he is sizing you up. The hair looks great. This figure turns out as nice as these pictures. He could really be a figure of the year candidate for next year. But look at all this stuff. We've even got a different portrait for Wolverine, so that's cool. We've got the smirking one, got a little bit more serious. So when he sees Sabretooth, he's all set and ready. Different hand sculpts, of course. Sabretooth has all kinds of claws. I mean, he's violent, so he's going for you. He's got the choke you out hands. He's got the coming through with my lunge. That's great. And the size, man, it's so good. He's going to tower over Wolverine, and you can't really go wrong with either one of these head sculpts. So absolute winner. And, you know, if that's all we got, I've been like, you know what? There's some real bangers in this set. I think Psylocke is solid for her look. I mean, they did a decent job with her, and we got a really nice Wolverine variants all around. So nice work. And check out this shot. I think this really sums up these two really well. Wolverine, Sabretooth going into battle. Sabretooth would have been my star of the reveals. Just awesome. But then after we watched the Marvel Legends team break down their favorites of the year, and there's definitely some intersection with some of their choices in my top 10, which I have compiled. Now I just need to pull the figures out so I can walk through them as I go over my list, which I'll probably put out this weekend. Really excited about how many great Marvel Legends figures we got this year. But then they got one that's going to be really, really hard to not be my favorite figure, maybe of all the lines that I collect, coming out next year with this, the Marvel Legends Angel figure. And wow, so well done. Oh, the detail work on the wings, great. He's got 3 points of articulation, which is awesome because he's not going to be a complete and utter shelf hog. You can almost fold him up, fold those wings back really nice and neat. So he's not just widespread. He's not going to be like one of those NECA gargoyles where it's like, good luck, put everyone behind him. This is awesome. I really love this. And, you know, the funny thing with this figure is it's just which way they could go. I mean, we've got tons of variants off of this look. That's why it was so important for them to knock this out, because there's the yellow glove version, there's the yellow boots version, and shoot, basically off of this, we'd also do an X Factor, get that red or white X on there. So lots of ways they could go with this, but they needed to start. They needed to get this one. Of course, then we can get our blue Angel. So basically his defenders look, and it's just repainting these red sections blue. I think maybe to get this out again, maybe they could pair him up with a better version of Hellcat, or maybe they could just do that where they fix her, give her the Shriek model, Shriek mold, and you got her, maybe Valkyrie, maybe. I don't know if they would go that far. Maybe put him with Cloud. That could be another option. Better Iceman, because I feel like we still need a great comic book version of Iceman. This figure's so well done, and it's just like all the stuff I wanted out of this Angel figure they did. He's based off the Vulcan mold, so you're familiar with how that mold works, and that means he's not going to be really short. He's going to be nice and tall, which I feel like of the original X-Men, he should be the tallest and stand out a little bit more prominently. So he's not going to be smaller than Cyclops, like that Archangel figure. And at this point, we need a new Archangel. Yeah, I take it on this mold too. I think that will work just fine. And they can use that same rig setup they have for Archangel's wings, we'd be just fine. But really nicely done here. Just fantastic. The head sculpt looks awesome. Got a little smile on his face. So we got that cocky Warren Worthington III look for him. And just a really well done figure. I'm so happy with how he turned out. And I feel like I bashed on Hasbro as needed, and sometimes they really do deserve it. And I think the Marvel Legends team is really guilty of making some bad choices, but when they deliver, like the Sabretooth and Angel, I'm all about Team Marvel Legends and have no problems giving them their bouquets of flowers because they're really well done when they put that effort and work into them. So here he is, and I just love this pose, this portrait, because we get to see everything with him, and just absolutely well done. Great head sculpt, great detail on the wings, and I mean, they don't have to worry about getting the use out of this mold again because they've got at least 4 more versions of Angel. We can get them in that blue skin, blonde hair showing Archangel looks. I mean, there is a ton of different looks they can do with this one. So bring them all on. I will take them. This is what I'm looking for. Marvel Legends team. So like I said, this is what I wanted to see more of from the Marvel Legends squad. I had an easy time compiling my top 10 list. I had a couple of honorable mentions. I'll try to cut that down to 2 or 3. But when they're on their game, they deliver. It just makes those decisions, those head-scratching moments, even more confounding. But I think they knocked these out, and just really great work. And no worries. I'm going to be back on here later on tonight doing a full Lyle's Figure Files at 8:05, but I need to go into detail about this because I know you guys are going to be so excited, and I just want to get all my thoughts out about them. But I'll definitely be back on here talking all the stuff, all the figure news we've seen over this past week. So for now, thank you so much for tuning in. This episode of Lyle's Figure Files has been filed.